lots of things in life that we can't control, but your thoughts, what you're thinking, should not be one of those things. But the problem is so many people have gotten so used to the sound of their negative self-talk that it feels like it's automatic. Well, today we're going to look at how you can stop your negative self-talk in one simple move. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. First things first, what is negative self-talk? Well, it's this kind of catch-all phrase that refers to that inner critic, that voice in your head that maybe for you is putting yourself down constantly or telling yourself you can't do things. So there's different areas of negative self-talk, like that self-doubt, which is saying maybe I can't do this, I'm not smart enough, or I'll probably fail, so why do I even try? Maybe self-talk takes the form of perfectionism for you. If I can't do it perfectly, I shouldn't do it at all. Or I made a small mistake, so the whole project is ruined. Sometimes negative self-talk is catastrophizing. This is the worst thing that could happen. If this doesn't work out, my life is over. Or pessimism. Nothing ever goes right for me. I'm sure things will just get worse. If these things sound familiar to you, then you may be struggling with negative self-talk and may not even realize it. Or for you, this may be something that you have been going through for a long time. Look, I want to give you one simple way to get rid of negative self-talk so that you can actually move forward productively, proactively, and crucially positively in your life. It becomes very difficult to achieve the things you want to achieve if you have someone constantly telling you that you're not good enough, or that you are not capable enough, or simply that you can't do what you want to do. When that person is you, you have control over what is being said. So by the end of this video, you are going to be equipped with a single move that you can make so that you no longer have to put up with that negative voice in your head telling you you can't. Sound good? Let's start with some statistics. The National Science Foundation says that an adult has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts every single day, and 80% of those are negative. Now, if those negative thoughts are damaging you, if they are holding you back from what you want to achieve, then let's get stuck in and change that fact. This simple move that I'm going to teach you today breaks down into 3 steps. The first step is to notice the thought that you are having. Notice that negative thought. The problem is a lot of us have gotten so used to the sound of that inner critic that we're not even aware of it going on anymore. It's like the hum of your refrigerator, right? It's not until it stops that you realize how noisy it actually was. So by tuning in to what's going on in your head, the things you're actually saying about yourself, to yourself, sometimes to other people, is the first step of this beautiful, simple move. So start noticing, start hearing what you're saying. Maybe you'll see that you're saying some positive stuff there as well. So it may not all be negative, but you need to tune in to what is actually going on in your brain, that dialogue that you're having with yourself. And then start writing it down. Write down the thoughts. Write them down. And this is a thing that the step that a lot of people shy away from, because people feel, and I know when I talk to people about going through this process, they feel that by writing it down, it somehow justifies that thought. And actually, it's better to just ignore it. If you ignore it, it doesn't go away. So we have to shine the light on it. And in order to do that, we write it down. Write down those thoughts, whatever they are. We went through a list of them already. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. Maybe for you, negative self-talk is about labeling. Maybe you're calling yourself names, right? That childhood bully is now you. I'm such a loser. I can never do this. I'm not capable. Whatever it is for you, write it down. And then we move on to the really powerful next step of this beautiful move, which is you start looking at evidence for and against that thought. Okay, so if this is the thought you're having, where's the evidence that that is true? And you may be able to come up with lots of evidence. You may be able to point to lots of different experiences that show you that actually that negative statement about yourself is absolutely true. But then you have to do the next bit, which is where's the evidence that it's not true? Now, this may be harder to come up with at first, but there's a part of our brain, it's a collection of neurons called the reticular activation system. And this little collection of neurons is responsible for filtering what we observe in the day and making us aware of what's important. And we can actually give commands to that reticular activation system, or the RAS. We can let it know what we want to be focusing on. If you've ever been looking to, for example, buy a dog and you're considering a Labrador, and suddenly everybody around you has Labradors, and you're suddenly seeing loads of Labradors, and you're like, why does everybody now have a Labrador when I've only just come up with the idea to get a Labrador? Or it might be a car. You're suddenly thinking about red cars, and now that's all you can see is it's just red car after red car after red car. This is actually, it's not that suddenly there are more Labradors in the world or suddenly there are more red cars in the world. It is your RAS going into action. We can't possibly be observing everything that is around us all the time. We don't have the capacity. Our brain power isn't able to process everything. So our RAS chooses what we want to focus on, chooses the information that we're actually going to be conscious of. And so in those instances, it chooses Labradors because we have made that command to it. I want to focus on Labradors. Of course, we're not aware necessarily of making that command. And that's why we suddenly start seeing them. If you've ever learned a new word, I remember this happened a lot to me when I was a kid. I'd learn a new word and then it suddenly felt like everybody was saying that word. Again, that's just my RAS activating. Now, the reason I'm telling you about this is we can use this. It's a powerful resource that we have. And when we have written down that negative self-talk, those statements that we are repeating to ourselves, and we've looked at the evidence for, okay, this is why I believe this to be true. And that's an important step because you don't want to just start lying to yourself going, no, it's fine, everything's fine, it's not true. There might be a wealth of evidence why you have come to accept this as truth for you. So write down that evidence for, but then start looking for the evidence against. Start noticing how that statement is not true. So let's take the example, I never finish things. I'm so useless, I never finish things. Maybe that's a statement that you repeat to yourself. Okay, and I'm sure you can list off all the reasons why that statement has come into being. I didn't finish this project, I didn't finish this assignment, whatever it is for you. I didn't finish this relationship, whatever that means to you. But then look at the evidence against. Okay, well, what have I completed in this example? What have I seen through to the end? And once you start asking that question, come up with anything that immediately comes to mind. But by asking that question, your RAS is going to start getting to work. And so you'll go through the day and suddenly realize, oh, no, here's something that I finished. And you become aware of the evidence against that statement. And the more evidence you compile, the less you'll be inclined to hold on to that negative statement that you have been telling yourself. And if we can go through that with the big ones, the statements that repeat in our head when we talk to ourselves about ourselves, or even the statements that we speak out loud about ourselves to other people, when we go through this process, we begin to let go because there's no longer sufficient evidence to hold onto it because we've commanded from our RAS that we collect the alternative evidence. Now, this knowledge, understanding that we can use this process to get rid of negative self-talk, means that we can allow that positivity to spread out through our life. And we can start affirming what we're doing and swapping out those negative statements for positive ones. And when we do that, then we start seeing it all around because, again, our RAS is looking for evidence, looking for proof, looking to justify those positive statements. So put your RAS to work and allow those negative statements to be something of the past, former beliefs that you had about yourself, and redefine who you are in this positive way. If this has been useful to you today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again real soon.